Alrighty. Story Hour Fairy Tales. Classic stories include Snow White, Cinderella, 12 Dancing Princesses, and Rapunzel. Story Hour Fairy Tales is a collection of interactive storybooks. Quote unquote interactive storybooks, it says. Classic public domain children's stories retold and recreated on Wii trademark. Family members can sit in the living room and read gorgeous fantasy tales enhanced by the magic of interaction on the Wii. At once a simple, casual game and parent-led storytelling experience. Story Hour Fairy Tales is beautiful, educational, and fun for parents and children alike. My ass. Story Hour Fairy Tales. Let's go. Published by Zoo, who is the same person that published the last Story Hour game that I played, which I think is the only other Story Hour game. There are other games that are literally, I think, interactive books and stuff. Not a ton more, but this is another one. Wherever the fuck I put my Wiimote. Oh, there it is. Alright. Good stuff. Nice.
Welcome to Story Hour Fairy Tales.
I like it because, like, the interface menu thing, the menu is, like, exactly the same as the other game. Music's loud, though. It's kind of loud music. Okay. I forget, is there anything else I can... any options I can mess around with right now? Instructions. I remember already looking at the instructions before. They're pretty... oh, options. Here we go. Story voice on. Instruction voice on. Turn on instruction narrator voice. Okay, fine. Doesn't even matter. Style A. Player interacts with the story using the Wii remote to turn pages. No. Select paths and complete exercises to further the story. You do that. Story events from start to finish without player interaction. Oh, okay, well, we'll do A, because that's at least... that's something. So, turn pages, select paths, and complete exercises to further the story. Gameplay. Okay. Alright, guys. Let's go. Let's start. We'll listen to like one or two stories later, but first we're gonna start with reading one of the stories, one or two of them, or three of them, and then yeah, we'll listen to some story, whatever one we have left. All right, Cinderella, let's go. Cinderella. All right. Play all. A long time ago, in a magical land far away.
In a magical land.
Wait. I gotta turn that voice off real quick. Magical land far away lived an old man and his daughter. The young girl's name was Cinderella. It's pretty pog. The old man's wife had died many years back, and he had recently been remarried. Poor Cinderella with a stepmom. His new wife was a cruel, evil woman. with 2 daughters who acted just like she did. Ate McDonald's all the time. Look at him. Cinderella's stepsisters picked on her because she was much prettier than they were. It's totally entirely the reason. It's not because Cinderella was a pushover or anything. Cinderella's new mother was also jealous of Cinderella and made her do all of the dirtiest, most boring jobs in the house, while her stepsisters sat around eating cakes. Perfect. That's the life, man.
Can you help Cinderella clean all the soot off the rug next to the fireplace? Point at the sooty areas with the Wii remote and hold down the A button to clear it all away.
Why is the sound super crackly? Oh, is it the fireplace?
That's a good start.
Is that supposed to be the fireplace sounds?
My, so much soot.
My, so much soot. Yo, what's up, 3XP? Hope you're well, man. Right?
Wonderful job. This rug never looked so good.
Dude, gameplay. Oh, man. Fucking loud-ass horns. Poor Cinderella was made to sleep alone in the cold attic above the rest of the house. At night, she dreamed of getting away from her nasty stepmother and her wicked stepsisters. And her cat that kept pooing on her head at night. In the same kingdom, not far from Cinderella's house, slept a young and handsome prince. He was buff, like Dragon Ball Z buff.
Knock on the door to the prince's bedroom to wake him up. Swing the Wii remote up and down to knock on the door and wake up the prince.
Did I like break into his house?
He's still asleep.
Oh.
He must be a sound sleeper.
This is what you guys, if your parents are asleep, remember to do this, kids. Just keep knocking on the door until they fucking wake the fuck up. And hope the hell they don't hit you. Okay. The prince woke up and one morning and decided to throw a ball for all the young people who lived in his kingdom. Did we just ignore... Am I supposed to be that guy? Am I just this fat guy here? Or am I supposed to ignore the fact that I knocked on the door to wake him? I don't know. When the invitation to the ball arrived at Cinderella's house, her 2 stepsisters became very excited. The eldest sister decided to wear a red velvet dress with beautiful French trimmings. Nice. Dude, they are fucking massive. The youngest sister decided to wear a petticoat with a beautiful golden cloak, diamond covered jewelry. That's amazing. Poor Cinderella, who had nothing to wear to the ball, watched the sisters as they had their hair done and got themselves ready for their big night at the ball. Yeah, poor Cinderella, you know, what, her not getting invited and all fucking... Like, that's not like a big deal or anything, whatever. When the stepsisters left for the ball, Cinderella went to her bedroom in the attic and started to cry like the little bitch that Cinderella was.
Can you find where Cinderella is hiding?
Cinderella?
Hiding place with the Wii remote and press the A button to look for her.
I'm just gonna let her cry awkwardly like this.
Hiding here. There she is.
Jesus.
Poor Cinderella.
She's going manic in the corner. We gotta bring her to the loony hospital. Luckily, Cinderella's fairy godmother heard her crying and with a flash appeared next to her in the attic. Because, that's not weird. What's the matter, Cinderella? Asked the fairy godmother. Because, they just exist now. She's not questioning that at all. We haven't established the fact that they exist or whatever, so that's not totally out of the ordinary or anything. I want to go to the prince's ball, but I have nothing to wear, replied Cinderella as she continued to cry. I don't know how the original story goes. It probably is just like, yeah, she just fucking has one. It doesn't matter. Everybody has a fairy godmother. Since you've been a good girl all your life, I'll get you to the ball, said the fairy godmother. But first, I need a pumpkin from the garden. Nice, dude. I bet you guys we get to click on a pumpkin or some shit. Real gameplay.
Can you find where the pumpkin is hidden?
I'm going here.
Point at items with the Wii remote and press the A button to look behind them. There's no pumpkin here.
There's no pumpkin here.
I wonder where that pumpkin is. Where is that pumpkin hiding? There's no
fucking
pumpkin
bitch ass
here.
Pumpkin, where are you at?
There's no pumpkin here.
We found the pumpkin
Why
pog.
does the fairy godmother need a pumpkin?
But she's a trolly bitch, dude. Once the fairy godmother had the pumpkin, she waved her wand in the air and it magically turned into a beautiful coach covered with gold. Because she couldn't just, do that anyway. She has to have some piece of matter to turn into more matter and make no sense anyway. Now, said the fairy godmother, I need 6 mice to pull the coach. Can you find some for me? Man. I mean, at least this one has more. I think this one has more interactable stuff than the other game did.
Can you catch the mice for the fairy godmother? To catch the mice, point to them with the Wii remote and press the A button. You caught one.
You caught one.
Halfway there. Only one more. Where is it? That makes 6. Great work.
Easy, Pog. When Cinderella handed over the mice, she said, But godmother, these mice are too small to pull such a large coach. She's like, bitch, I'm fairy godmother. Fairy godmother smiled at Cinderella and started to wave her magical wand in the air, and Cinderella recoiled because she was like, oh god, please don't hit me with that. Suddenly, the mice turned into beautiful horses, strong enough to pull the coach to the prince's ball. Why didn't she just, teleport her to the ball? After finding some other items for her fairy godmother, Cinderella suddenly looked very sad. But godmother, she said, you haven't given me enough. I need more. Wah. I have nothing to wear to the ball but this ripped old dress. This next minigame, you're gonna backhand Cinderella for being such a spoiled little brat. With the Wii, just do a backhand motion. Once again, the fairy godmother smiled at Cinderella and started to wave her magical wand in the air. Oh boy, look at a wand cursor.
Help the fairy godmother work her magic. Swing the Wii remote up, down,
Stop.
left, and
Stop
right
whining.
to wave her magical wand
Sorry.
in the air.
Left and right. Oh. Shut your mouth. Oh. I'm just gonna leave her as an aether. Oh, help. It kind of looks like she's saying help. That's kind of funny.
Well done. You helped.
She's
the
like, oh
fairy
god,
godmother.
I'm half existing. Suddenly, Cinderella's old dress turned into a beautiful ball gown, fit for the prince's ball. Z- Finally, the fairy godmother handed Cinderella a pair of glasses, a pair of glass slippers to wear, but as she did so, she gave Cinderella a warning. If you break these, I swear to God, make sure you leave the ball by midnight. Cinderella, not one moment longer, or the coach will turn back into a pumpkin. The horses will turn back into mice. And everything will be as it was before. Cinderella didn't ask any questions whatsoever about the logistics of that and promised her fairy godmother that she would be back by midnight and happier than she had been before, made her way towards the prince's ball. As Cinderella arrived at the palace, the prince was told that a beautiful and unknown princess had just arrived that he had not yet tapped. What's up, Jacob? The prince rushed outside the palace, and seeing Cinderella, immediately fell in love with her. That's healthy. So, I mean, this was the time, there wasn't much to do back in the times. People just fell in love like in an instant. It was weird. The prince and Cinderella walked up the stairs into the castle together. As they walked into the ball, everyone fell silent, even Cinderella's stepsisters, for nobody had ever seen someone so beautiful before. So the moral of the story is be beautiful and you get things that you want. Can you find the two stepsisters in the ball? This is a dumb mini game.
Each time you find one of them, point at her with the Wii remote and press the A button. You found one of them, and there's the second one.
As the prince and Cinderella danced, everyone talked about her stunning beauty and marveled at her amazing dress. That shit is fake, yo. Cinderella sat down and talked with her stepsisters, but neither of them recognized her. Cinderella giggled as she went to talk with some other guests at the ball. So what, did the fairy godmother like warp her face? Or something?
Who would you like Cinderella to chat with at the ball? Point to a person with the Wii remote and press the A button.
Cinderella definitely wants a threesome with this couple. Cinderella wandered over to the young couple sitting in the corner. "My," said the woman, "what a beautiful dress." Get away from my husband. Cinderella decided to stop mingling with other guests and headed back to the prince. Wow, I don't even get to see the other guests, what they say. Okay. For hours, Cinderella and the prince danced at the ball. Suddenly, Cinderella realized that she had lost track of the time. Can you help?
You help Cinderella by finding the clock at the prince's ball. Point to the clock with the Wii remote and press the A button.
I think she's too enamored with that guy and too drunk to see something right in front of her face, even if I point at it. Oh no, thought Cinderella, it's almost midnight. I have to get home. Without saying goodbye to the prince, Cinderella ran towards the palace doors. The prince tried to chase Cinderella, but he lost her in the crowd of people happily dancing at the ball. Cinderella ran down the stairs of the palace, but as she ran, one of her glass slippers fell off. Just as she disappeared into the night, her beautiful gown turned back into her ripped, old dress. At the palace, the fine coach and horses turned back into a pumpkin and mice. The poor, confused prince walked out of the palace looking for Cinderella, but could not see her anywhere. Can you find the glass slipper? Oh.
Slipper that Cinderella dropped.
Yo, what up, Wineville? I hope you're well, dude.
With the Wii remote and press the A button. It's Cinderella's glass slipper.
Why did he say the first line so soft, but then he's like, it's the glass slipper? On the steps of the palace, the prince was surprised to find the glass slipper which Cinderella had dropped as she ran home. Clumsy, clumsy Cinderella. The prince asked everyone at the ball if they knew the name of his beautiful princess, but none could tell him. Words. The prince was very sad and went to bed and drank very heavily, determined to find a way to see the beautiful princess again. Wait, what did he say? I think I missed a word or two there. Determined to I think determined was the word that I think I already said that, but I don't know. A few days later, Prince had an idea. He declared that he would marry the girl whose foot fit the delicate glass slipper, no matter what the girl said, or she will be hanged. The prince traveled around the kingdom, where many young ladies tried on the slipper, and finally he arrived at Cinderella's house, where he asked her stepmother if she had any daughters who could try on the glass slipper. She's like, no, but I could try it on, handsome. Cinderella's stepmother told the prince that she had 2 daughters, not wanting Cinderella to know the prince was there and to try on the slipper. The first stepsister tried on the slipper, but her foot was much too small, and the slipper fell off as she walked around the room. Oh man, I can fucking make a hard bet on what the next page is. The second stepsister tried on the slipper, and but her foot was too large, and fucking then she died. Although he forced it to fit, she cried out in pain when she tried to walk around the room. Why did he do that? Oh, although she forced it to fit. Okay, I thought it said he. I was like, well, why would he do that? That's terrible. I guess she did that. That's still terrible. What, did she break her toes? That's pretty awful. Cinderella heard her stepsister cry out and came downstairs. Gross. Came downstairs to see what was happening. Please, fair prince, let me try on the glass slipper, said Cinderella. I don't know why I said it like that. The 2 stepsisters immediately tried. Why does he have the slipper on like one finger? What the fuck? The 2 stepsisters tried to interfere, but the prince ignored them and handed the glass slipper to Cinderella like a fucking baller, like a boss. Look at him. He's gonna get all the pussy. Look at him. Can you help Cinderella?
Pick up the glass slipper with the A button on the Wii remote and release it when you have the slipper over her foot.
This is like Dan Schneider's type of game. I'm gonna put it in this guy's nose. I'm just gonna boop. Just gonna put this shoe up his nose.
Oops, better try again.
gonna put it
Oops.
on
Better try
Cinderella's
again.
face. I'll put it in her
Oops.
hand.
Better try again.
Better
Oops.
try
Better
again.
try again. It fits.
It fits. Okay. Cinderella put the glass slipper on her foot and it fit perfectly. The prince smiled. Cinderella smiled back at him. And he suddenly recognized the beautiful princess. Because people are just stupid. And he had danced with at the ball. Cinderella's stepmother and stepsisters gasped in shock and disbelief and then started to cry because they're, like mentally 3 years old. At the sound of the crying, Cinderella's fairy godmother once again appeared in a flash and flashed everybody. The fairy godmother waved her magic wand in the air over Cinderella.
Can you help the fairy godmother work her magic? Swing the
So
wheel
why,
remote
I don't understand what the fuck the deal
left
is.
and right.
Why
Wave her
did the fairy
magical wand
godmother
in the air.
make the arbitrary time limit? Like, what is she just going to get? I was going to say, is she just going to give her back everything and none of this mattered?
Well done.
Is it just supposed to teach the prince a lesson or something and nothing was learned? Suddenly, Cinderella's torn dress turned back into the beautiful gown she had worn to the prince's ball. The prince, happy that he had once again found that hot chick that he had found the beautiful prince from the ball, asked Cinderella to marry him because now she wasn't ugly. Cinderella said yes, and the sisters started to cry even louder. The two stepsisters dropped to Cinderella's feet and begged her to forgive them for how they had treated her in the past. And Cinderella was like, no, bitches, you guys are going straight to the dungeons. Cinderella forgave her stepsisters and took them with her to live with her and the prince at the palace. Pog. Cinderella and the prince lived happily ever after. Until the prince died of a very tragic brain aneurysm a year later. The end. Nice, that was good. That was a story. That was definitely a story. Alright, Snow White, let's go.
Snow
Yo, what up,
White.
Snollet? Hope you're well. Okay. A long time ago, in the magical land far away, lived a king and a queen in a castle on a hill. Oh, nice ambient bird sounds. The king and queen were happy together for many years, but they longed for a child of their own. Finally, one winter day, their wish was answered. Finally, they banged enough. On a beautiful day, as snow blanketed the land outside the window, the king and queen's daughter was born, and the kingdom rejoiced, lest they be hanged or burned at the stake. With skin as white as snow, lips as red as rubies, and hair as black as ebony, they decided to call her Snow White. Because they're terrible parents. Like, imagine being named Snow White. Shortly after Snow White was born, the queen died, and the whole kingdom mourned. 1 year later, the king married a new queen. The new queen was nothing like the Snow White's mother. She was terribly evil and filled with jealousy. Where have I seen this before? The new queen considered herself a tremendous beauty and could not bear the idea that anyone could be more beautiful than her. She kept a magical mirror in the basement of the castle, and every so often she would ask the mirror the same question. Which Shrek was better, Shrek 1 or Shrek 2? Can you help the queen wipe dust from the mirror? Why would I do that? She's a bitch.
The dusty areas with the Wii remote and hold down the A button to clear it all away.
Gameplay.
There's an awful lot of dust. Keep at it. I think I can see a reflection. Most of
Nope, the
dust
queen's
is
a
gone.
vampire.
Wonderful job. Now it's time to ask the mirror a question.
The mirror. Mirror, mirror on the wall, the queen would say, who is the fairest of us all? And every time she asked this question, the mirror would reply, you are the fairest of them all. And also the rates at the local Sears. Very fair. Much time passed, seasons came and went, and Snow White grew from a pretty child into a beautiful young woman. Once again, the queen visited the mirror in the basement and asked the same question as she had so many times before. And the mirror's like, what? What? What do you want? Mirror, mirror on the wall, the queen said, who is the fairest of us all? However, this time the mirror's reply gave the queen a nasty shock. Queen, you are fair, it is true, the mirror said, but Snow White is fairer still than you. Something, something Yoda. The proud queen, now knowing that she was no longer the most beautiful woman in the land, was filled with envy and hate. Like that kind of hate that makes you start singing death metal. The queen was driven mad with jealousy. She could not sleep or even eat, and so she decided to banish Snow White from the kingdom. What a bitch. The queen called for a huntsman and told him to take Snow White through the deep forest on the edge of the kingdom and abandon her in the neighboring lands. Wow. It's a lot worse than Cinderella's stepmother. Cinderella's stepmother just made her do chores and shit. And I guess, emotionally abused her. The huntsman led Snow White deep into the forest, but when it came time to banish her, he found that he couldn't. She was far too kind and gentle. The huntsman said she wouldn't. God, I'm so bad at reading. The huntsman said he would not banish Snow White, but that she must never return to the kingdom for as long as she lived. Snow White agreed. I will go further into the forest and never come home again, she said. Didn't it say she said first before that? I don't know. The huntsman left Snow White and started for the long journey back to the castle. Relieved to have escaped the evil queen's plot, Snow White suddenly found herself alone and lost in the forest. She made her way through the bushes, trying to find help. Can you help?
Can you help Snow White get through the forest? Grasp each twig with the A button on the Wii Remote and release it at the edge of the screen to clear Snow White's path. This forest is a little bit scary. It's starting to get a little easier to see. Looks like there's a clearing ahead.
Gameplay. As the sun started to set, Snow White came across a clearing in the forest, in the middle of which stood a little house. So exhausted from running and frightened to spend the night alone in the woods, Snow White decided to enter the little home. Wow, that's a good idea. Just break into somebody's house, Snow White. It's literally, probably lawless
Help
times.
Snow White by finding the door to the house. Point at the door.
Wow, is she just stupid or something? Has she never seen a house in her life? Does she not know how houses work? Inside the house, Snow White's stomach started to rumble, but she was too stupid to know what food was. It had been quite a while since she last sat down for a meal. Snow White is hungry.
What should she eat? Point at a piece of food with the Wii
Eat the
Remote
knife,
and
eat the
press
knife,
A
eat the
button to
knife,
choose
eat
it.
the knife, eat the knife. Snow White picked the chicken leg off the plate and took a huge bite. Yum! Immediately, her stomach stopped rumbling. I mean, just imagine if that was some just old, nasty piece of chicken. She had no idea how old it was. It looks pretty good. After her meal, as a way to repay the owners, Snow White cleaned the dirty house from top to bottom and then finally fell fast asleep in a room filled with 7 tiny beds. The fuck's she doing in that bed? Questionable stuff. After a long day of work, 7 dwarves made their way back to their home in the middle of the forest. Upon entering their house, the dwarves were very surprised. Their normally dirty home was sparkling clean. Someone must be in the house. Man, the lore. All 7 dwarves went upstairs in search of the intruder. When they got to the bedroom, they saw Snow White fast asleep in one of their beds. That is not a good idea to just go sleeping in random people's houses, Snow White, just saying.
The 7 dwarfs need your help. Swing the Wii Remote up and down to gently shake Snow White awake.
She looks like she's awake. She doesn't look like she's asleep. She looks like she's got her eyes kind of partially open. Slap her.
She's still
Slap. Slap. Wake up. Wake up.
She's not awake yet. She must be really tired.
Definitely nobody would take this opportunity to do ridiculous things to Snow White, I'm sure. When Snow White awoke, she introduced herself to this. I'm talking about with the Wii Remote. She introduced herself to the 7 dwarves and told them the horrible story of how the queen tried to have her banished from the kingdom. The dwarves' hearts swelled with sympathy for Snow White, and they were so taken with how wonderfully she had cleaned their home that they decided to let her stay with them. They're like, yeah, just stay here, man. I mean, if you're gonna clean shit all the time, that's fine. Snow White grew to love the seven dwarves, and during the daytime, while they were working, Snow White prepared a delicious meal for when they returned. Is that how she lives her life now? Is that it? Is that Snow White?
Can you help Snow White stir the stew she is making for dinner? Point the Wii remote at the stew and make circular motions to help her stir. You've got it. Keep going.
Oh man, is that like almost 3D animated?
Smells really good. Keep it up.
I think the spoon is like
The stew
maybe a
is
3D
ready.
object.
Great job.
Maybe not. It almost looks like one. While Snow White and the seven dwarves ate, one of the dwarves warned her to stay hidden, or else the wicked queen would surely discover that she was alive and well. Back at the castle, the huntsman told the queen that he had banished Snow White from the kingdom. The queen was overjoyed, sure that she was the most beautiful woman in the land once again. And who knows how long that'll last. Who knows what she's gonna do next. The queen could not resist hearing the mirror's reassuring words. She ran to the basement and questioned the mirror once again. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of us all? Mirror's answer was not at all what she had been expecting. O queen, thou art fairest of all I see, but over the hills where the seven dwarfs dwell, Snow White is living happy and well, and none is so fair as she. She fine. The queen was furious. Since the mirror could never lie, she knew that Snow White had not been banished and that the huntsman had lied to her. For days, the evil queen tried to decide how to deal with Snow White. Poor Snow White, who was still living happily with the dwarves, had no idea that she was in danger. Suddenly, the queen had an idea. She painted her face, put on some old torn clothes, and picked up a basket of clothing and trinkets, so she looked just like an old woman who spent her time selling perfume. Okay. The queen, dressed like an old woman, made her way through the forest to the home of the dwarves, who were busy at work while Snow White looked after the house.
The queen is waiting outside the dwarf's house. Swing the Wii remote up and down to knock on the door.
Snow White opened the door. "Hello, old woman," she said. "How can I help you today? Do you have something to sell?" "I got some dang shit right here, girl." The evil queen smiled at Snow White. "I have wonderful perfumes to sell. Very cheap. Why don't you take a look in my basket?" Snow White
Snow
can't...
White can't
Oh.
make up her mind. Point to a bottle of perfume with the Wii remote and press the A button to choose.
Snow White chose a beautiful red bottle of perfume, but the perfume was poisoned. As soon as she tried it on, she fell to the floor. Now, I'm the most beautiful woman in the land, cried the evil queen as she ran off into the forest and back to her castle. Damn, she just straight up Russia'd Snow White, where she once again asked the mirror her favorite question. This time the mirror's reply filled her evil heart with joy. You, my queen, you are the fairest of them all. Back in the forest, the dwarves returned home from work and found Snow White collapsed in the doorway of their house. The dwarves cried for days and finally decided to put beautiful Snow White in a coffin made of glass and placed it in the forest in the middle of a clearing where it would always be watched over by one of them. One of them. Snow White lay in the clearing as beautiful as ever, with skin as white as snow, lips as red as rubies, and hair as black as ebony, and nobody's gonna question how the body just doesn't decompose whatsoever. Not long afterwards, a prince found himself in the forest and stumbled upon Snow White laying in the clearing. Let me guess, he makes out with the dead body. Can you
clear the fallen leaves off the glass so the prince can
Why doesn't one of the dwarves do that?
grasp each leaf?
What the
with
fuck
the
are they
Wii
even doing
remote
there then?
and release it at the edge of the screen to clear off the glass. There's someone inside.
There's someone inside.
Who could it be? Keep clearing.
Oh my god, dude. This game is stupid.
Why, it's a beautiful girl.
No, that's all that matters. Immediately the prince fell in love, of course. Immediately the prince fell in love and rushed to the dwarf's house. Please, he pleaded with the dwarves. Open the coffin so I can look at Snow White. She's dead. What the fuck is wrong with you? She's dead. The dwarves saw that the prince was honest and that there was a look of love in his eyes. Two of the dwarves led the prince back to Snow White. I guess this was just the times where, you know, banging a dead body is just okay.
The prince needs someone to lead him back to Snow White.
Snow
To
White.
a pair of dwarves with the Wii remote and press the A button to have them guide the prince.
As they walked through the forest, one of the dwarfs said to the prince, I've never seen someone with such beautiful white skin as Snow White. Okay. Prince is like, man, you guys are really fixated on that whole white skin thing. As they reached the clearing, that's all he said. As they reached the clearing, the dwarves handed the key to the coffin to the prince, and then headed back to their home. The prince slowly walked up to Snow White. He's like, man, those dwarves were really racist. What the fuck? As the prince unlocked the coffin, a magical wind blew through the forest and swept over Snow White. It was entirely coincidental, actually. Suddenly, Snow White opened her eyes and saw the prince. Where am I? She asked. What happened? The prince smiled at her. That doesn't matter. You're with me now. You're safe. And he helped her onto her feet. Will you marry me? Boy, I don't even know you. I don't even know your name. The story doesn't even say you have a name. Who the fuck are you? Snow White agreed, and they were married shortly after, because she's stupid. Let's face it. She's dumb. The evil queen was not so lucky. She didn't get any tang from those young princes. She lived in the rest of her days staring at her magical mirror, asking the same question, and getting the same reply. Nah, bitch, you ugly. You ugly. Queen, you are fair, it is true. The mirror said, but Snow White is fairer than you. Lol. And far away, Snow White and the prince lived happily ever after. Nice. 2 out of 4 stories done. Easy pog. So I think I'm going to read all the stories out loud, and then we'll listen to them being read on the autoplay. We're going to take a second to fucking go into this so it stops playing that loud-ass musical. Sorry, that loud-ass music. And I'm just going to take a second to go grab a drink. Oh, man. What a game, though, right? Moving on to Rapunzel. Okay. 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 Alright, Rapunzel. A long time ago, in a magical land far away, lived a husband and wife who for many years had wished in vain for a child. He just couldn't get his dick up, though. Sadly. Couldn't get it done. Yo, what's up, 3XP? You're still here, sorry, my bad. Who actually thought this was a good idea for a physical game release? I don't know, it's a good question. Sorry about that, I'm just gonna go back and... I didn't read that in time. Yeah. There's like 2 games that are story hour games, and then I think those are the only ones that were made by Zoo or published by Zoo. And then there's a couple other ones, like there's a couple other story games, not story hour games, but other games that are just interactive storybooks, I guess. I don't know if they're as bad or even or any better or more interactive or more like an actual game, but yeah, this game has very minimal gameplay, that's for sure. They lived in a small cottage on the edge of a beautiful forest overlooking a splendid garden that was full of the prettiest flowers and herbs in the whole kingdom. Yeah, I mean, and it could have entirely been released on WiiWare. There was a lot of games that were released on physical disc and WiiWare. However, the garden belonged to an evil enchantress who was feared across the land, and she had built a high wall around it which nobody dared to climb over. Wow. Isn't she fancy? One day, the wife was sitting in her bedroom when she decided to open the bedroom window and look outside. Can you help the wife? She's too stupid to open a window.
Wii remote and press the A button to open it so she can look outside. You opened the window for the wife. Well done.
Well done. You're stupid. After opening the window, she didn't open the window, I opened it. The wife found herself looking at the enchantress's garden where she saw a bed of the most beautiful lettuce growing in the soil. She's like, I'm gonna go steal that fucking lettuce. It's my lettuce now, bitch. It's mine. Every day, the lettuce would catch the wife's eye, and every day she wondered how it would taste. Cabbage? Or lettuce? I mean, okay. Her desire to eat some of the lettuce grew and grew until she could think of nothing else, and she started to look quite pale and miserable. Well, that's weird. I mean, lettuce arguably is probably one of the better tasting vegetables, in my opinion, but nothing to go pale over. Jeez, lady, get a grip. Her husband saw how sickly she had become and asked her what was wrong. If I don't get some lettuce from the enchantress's garden, she replied, then my sickness will only become worse, and I may die of making shit up. Yo, what's up, Honor? Hope you're well. The husband, not wanting to see his wife sick, decided that he would sneak into the enchantress's garden and bring her back some of the lettuce. He's like, well, I mean, maybe I could get my dick sucked for that, right? Maybe, My nose is pretty massive, so I don't really get it sucked that often. Pretty hard to get my wife to do that. Sometimes. Nice, glad to hear that. Following night, when the moon was high in the sky, the husband made his way to the garden and tried to decide how he would get to the lettuce. The lettuce.
The husband needs your help. Can you help him? Point to one of the ways into the garden with the Wii remote and press the A button to select it.
I'm gonna select the gate. Husband made his way towards the metal gate, leading into the garden, and carefully climbed over it, mindful of the spikes that threatened to cut him. I was gonna say, just go in through the gate. I'm just gonna pick the gate like a total troll. Okay. Yeah, it's the thing. There's a couple these stories. There's a very, very few select times where you can pick different things that happens, and that absolutely does nothing to affect the story whatsoever. And I think is maybe just 2 or 3 different extra ways that this page goes, basically. Like, I'm sure there's a picture of him doing that, and then a picture of him climbing over that, and a picture of him doing whatever the fuck, probably using the tree. And that's like the extent of the gameplay, pretty much, is just interacting with stuff, and then once a story, maybe being able to pick your own direction. Speedrun when never. I'm never speedrunning the story hour games in my life. Once in the garden, the husband looked at the beautiful flowers and herbs, more beautiful than any he had ever seen before, and finally found the lettuce. And he smoked that shit up. He was like, hell yeah, dude.
Can you help the husband get some lettuce leaves? Point to the lettuce leaves with the Wii remote.
I like this illustration of the lettuce.
Pluck them off.
I do. I like this. I like the illustration of the lettuce. It looks nice. It's nice lettuce.
This lettuce sure looks good. Just a little more. That should be enough. Time to head back to the cottage.
Alright, we're gonna score. When the husband returned to the cottage, his wife was overjoyed. She made the lettuce leaves into a salad and ate it as quickly as she could. So, okay. I don't know. I'm not even gonna question this. Gotta draw the line somewhere, right? However, the next day, after eating all the lettuce, the wife found that she wanted more. Wow, who'd have fucking thought, right? Wow. Can't go and get it yourself, can you? Please, husband, she begged, can you sneak back into the garden and get more lettuce tonight? The husband decided to help his wife again, which meant that he had to go back to the enchantress's garden. Isn't this Cinderella? When the fuck is Cinderella fucking coming into the picture? Once again, as the moon was high in the sky, the husband made his way back into the garden. But just as he arrived... Or not Cinderella, sorry, Rapunzel. That's what I meant. But just as he arrived at the lettuce patch, the enchantress appeared from the shadows. How dare you enter my garden? The enchantress screamed at the quivering husband. And how dare you steal my beautiful lettuce? I'm going to teach you a lesson. Perhaps I'll turn you into a frog or a rabbit. Or a little bitch. Oh wait, that you already are one. Bro. Bruh. Please, enchantress, the husband begged. Please spare me. My wife saw your beautiful lettuce from our window, and she would have died if she had not been able to eat some of it. Hearing this, the enchantress became less angry. I'll make a deal with you, she said to the husband. You can take as much lettuce as you wish, but, capital B-U-T, but, you must give me your firstborn child. Oh, shit. And of course he's fine with it. Of course he does it. In this terror, the next fucking frame he does it. In his terror, not wanting to see his wife sick, the husband agreed to the enchantress's deal. He grabbed as much lettuce as he could carry and went back to his cottage and fucking just gave up his baby. Nice. It's nice. That night, the wife ate as much lettuce as she could and went to bed happy, none the wiser that her husband literally just sold their baby. Many years passed in the... Oh, wait, I guess not yet. I guess he didn't do it yet. Oh, okay, right. It wasn't born yet. That's right, okay. Many years passed, and the husband and wife had a daughter. Immediately, the enchantress appeared in the cottage and demanded they fulfill the deal which had been made many years before. Wow. As soon as it came out of her vagina. The instant. The husband and wife sadly handed the child over, and the enchantress named her Rapunzel. The enchantress took the baby girl back to her home, where she grew up surrounded by the most beautiful flowers and herbs. Hell yeah, dude, she's learned to cultivate those herbs. Know what I'm saying? The years passed and Rapunzel grew up to be... What is this? So, there's this archway, right? I know it's like the same shit that they used in the frame before. Why did they have the cape go in front of the flowers in the foreground when he's in the background? Or maybe he's just really small and floating next to Rapunzel. Except Rapunzel's not even... I don't know. Who the fuck cares? Nobody cared about this game. The years passed and Rapunzel grew up to be the most beautiful girl in the whole kingdom, regardless of physics. When she reached her 12th birthday, wow, they voted her the most beautiful before she was even 12. That's really weird. The enchantress decided to lock Rapunzel away in a high tower deep in the forest so no other person could see her beauty because, okay, I'm a crazy old woman. The tower had no doors and only a single window. When the enchantress wanted to visit Rapunzel, she would stand beneath the window and shout, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." And she'd be like, "Bitch, fuck off. I'm not letting you in. Get the fuck out of here." Rapunzel was lucky enough to have magnificent long hair as fine as spun gold, which shone into the sunlight. When she heard the enchantress calling, she would fasten her hair to hooks on the window and lower her hair down. Yeah, I kind of like Tangled in that it like kind of explains why the fuck she has long hair. This just is like, oh, by the way, she has really long hair. I mean, I guess everything's magic anyway, but this just isn't even explained. It's not like she was cursed to have long hair or anything. It's just, oh, hey, there's super long hair, by the way. I mean, I don't know. Actually, I think that's how it is in Tangled too, isn't it? I'm dumb. I think it's like she has really crazy hair, and I don't know. I guess that's not really super well explained in the Tangled either, huh? I don't know. Fucking, this is stupid. Rapunzel is a dumb story. Her beautiful hair reached all the way to the ground, and the enchantress used it to climb up through the window. Because that's practical. And it's not like she's magic or anything. For years, more years passed, and then one day, a fair prince came riding through the forest and rode past Rapunzel's tower. And Rapunzel's thirsty. At this time, Rapunzel was sitting on her window singing a tune as beautiful as birdsong. So beautiful was Rapunzel's singing that the prince stopped his horse and stood below the tower to masturbate. I mean, listen. Okay. Let's go. When the singing stopped, the prince found that he desperately needed to meet the person who could sing so sweetly. This body of water is just switching places. He searched and searched, but he couldn't find a door into the tower. Sadly, he rode home. He's like, I don't even care anymore. Rapunzel's singing had touched the prince's heart so deeply that every day he would return to the tower just so he could listen to the melody. Could you...
Can you help the prince find somewhere to sit and listen to Rapunzel?
Here, sit in the tower.
Wii remote and press the A button.
Sit in the tower. Oh. The prince found a nearby tree and would sit halfway up on a thick branch, listening to Rapunzel sing and hoping to catch a glimpse of her boobs. Her. One day, while the prince was visiting the tower, the enchantress happened to be visiting Rapunzel, and the prince learned the secret of how to reach the window in the tower. Not being dumb. The enchantress stood below the window and shouted out, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." And once again, the beautiful golden hair came down, allowing the enchantress to climb and read really slowly. Climb into the tower. Later that day, as the night began to fall and the enchantress had left Rapunzel's tower, the prince decided to try his luck. He stood below the tower, took a deep breath, and shouted out, "Snape kills Dumbledore! Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." Immediately, the hair came down. Immediately, the hair came down, and the prince started to climb. Because Rapunzel just doesn't give a fuck if anyone comes and just murders her for all she cares. She's like, I'd welcome it. I'm so bored.
Can you help the prince climb up into the tower? Swing the Wii remote up and down to make him climb faster. Keep it up. You are making good progress.
Oh man, animation.
You're halfway there. Don't give up.
Yo, what's up, Celcina?
Almost there.
How much would you have to pay me to do an audiobook?
You did it. Now the prince will find the source.
You'd have to DM me about that. When the prince climbed into the tower, Rapunzel was frightened, since this was the first person she had ever met other than the enchantress. Really? I mean, I guess other than her parents, too. She doesn't care about her parents, though. "Fair lady," said the prince, "I heard your singing from down in the forest, and every day I have come back to listen, and now that I see that you are as beautiful as the songs you sing, I fear I can never leave. And I'm not going to leave. In fact, I'm going to stay here whether you like it or not." And so the friendship between Rapunzel and the prince began, and the friendship soon turned into an aggressive, rather scary relationship. In fact, the prince was terribly abusive. Turned into true love, and he continued to visit her in secret high up in the tower. And this is what you get for letting in random people into your tower, Rapunzel. Just any guy just comes along, and you're just like, "Oh, by the way, come on in, it's fine." Yeah, okay. It's like, why do you do this, Rapunzel? Why do you just immediately trust the very first guy? Every story, every one of the people are just like, and they fell in love immediately, and that's not stupid or anything, by the way. That's totally fine. One day, the prince built up the courage to ask Rapunzel if she would marry him. Well, at least he waited a couple days. Fucking Snow White, the guy married her like that, and she delightfully accepted. Or delightedly accepted, sorry. But Prince, Rapunzel began. But Prince, when do you put out your next album? How will I ever leave this tower? The prince quickly came up with a cunning plan, and every day going forward brought a reel of silk up into the tower, where Rapunzel started to weave a ladder so that she could safely make it down into the forest. Weaving ladders.
Rapunzel needs your help. Can you help her weave the silk into a ladder? Point the weaver.
What, did he just like bring this up to her?
Make circular
Or did she
motions
just
to
have
make
this?
it
Is the one thing she had. So did she? It's the one talent she has is spinning whatever the fuck this is, because it's the one thing she has with her. So she does that just all the time.
Good. Keep spinning. The silk is turning into a fine ladder.
Oh yeah,
The ladder is done.
nice, dude. That
Great
took
work.
literally no effort at all. All went according to plan until the day that the silken ladder was complete. Rapunzel and the prince sat in the tower ready to leave, when they heard the enchantress below the tower. Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair, called the enchantress, and as Rapunzel lowered her hair, the prince quickly hid underneath her bed, terrified. Still ridiculously aroused, though. As the enchantress entered the tower, she saw the silken ladder laying on the floor, which, in their haste and fear, Rapunzel and the prince had forgotten to hide. It's literally like one of 3 objects in the entire room that you know almost probably in and out, considering you've been stuck in this room for a long time. Whatever, who cares? Rapunzel, the enchantress, screamed, "You are a wicked child indeed. I have protected you up in this tower, hiding you from the evil of the world. And you repay me by planning your escape." And with this to teach Rapunzel a lesson, she literally scalped her. No, I'm just kidding. She grabbed her by the hair, and with several quick snips with a pair of scissors, that would still hurt a lot, probably. She cut off all of Rapunzel's beautiful hair. I mean, with a couple of snips, that would be pretty gnarly. Like, that's probably some thick-ass hair, I'm not gonna lie. That's a nice haircut, though. She looks way better. The prince jumped up from the bed to protect Rapunzel, knocking the wicked enchantress to the floor. Oh man, now this is getting... Now this is just getting... This is just going a little... Now he's actually beating somebody. Oh, okay, he didn't beat her. Okay, I was gonna say the enchantress. Quickly, it would be ridiculous if he beat Rapunzel after that, though. He's just like, oh god, Rapunzel, why did you do this? Why did you get me involved in this? Quickly, the prince pushed the ladder through the window, and seconds later, he and Rapunzel were standing at the base of the tower with the enchantress screaming at them from the window. Thanks, Liza, I appreciate it. How's it going, dude? I hope you're well. So is this better or worse than Tangled? I've played Tangled before. Tangled is an okay game. It's kind of weird, but it's okay. I haven't beaten it, but I've played through a bit of it anyway. Rapunzel started to flee, but the prince had a thought. He grabbed the silken ladder and pulled it with all his might.
Can you help the prince pull down the ladder?
I'm not letting you commit homicide, Prince. No, I'm not aiding you in your homicide of the enchantress. Whether or not you like it, You can't just go and kill random enchantresses that'd go and put you in go. Fucking God. I'm not aiding you in this. I'm not aiding you in this, man. I'm gonna see if it just goes forward. I am not aiding in this gross homicide. Okay, I guess I'll aid. I guess I'll aid in it. I have no other choice. 3 times. Wait,
Well,
what?
again, it's starting to loosen. Almost got it. Try again one
Let's
more time.
casually just let the
You
fucking
did it.
enchantress,
Great work.
you know. Well, I guess she's magic. I don't know. The ladder broke free of the tower. Is she magic, though? I don't know. And fell to the ground. Rapunzel and the prince ran into the forest, never to return to the tower again. Yep, we killed the enchantress. GG. Several weeks later. Oh, okay. I thought they had the baby then. Rapunzel and the prince were married, and a year later after that they had a child. And a beautiful girl with golden hair and even more beautiful than her mother's. I was going to say I thought they had a baby a couple weeks later, and I was going to be like, what the fuck? Who made the story? The enchantress was never able to escape from the tower, and until the day she died, she could be seen in her window high above the forest, crying out for Rapunzel to return. You killed her. You aided in this. This is partly your fault that she died. By the way, the end. Good shit. Alright. Last story, and then we're gonna listen to all this. We're gonna at least listen to parts of the stories, or all the stories, after this, just to listen to them. We're not gonna keep the timer going for that, but we'll just, listen to it. We'll listen to at least, like, maybe 1 or 2 stories. I don't know. I just want to see what the voice actors sound like. A long time ago, in a magical land... Oh, wait. I didn't say what this was. 12 dancing princesses. Sorry. This is 12 dancing princesses.
12 dancing princesses.
12 princesses in one story. A long time ago, in a magical land far away, lived a king who had 12 beautiful daughters. They lived in magnificent castles overlooking the lake, and all the princesses slept together in the same bedroom. Whoa. All their beds were lined up side by side when they went to bed each night. The king locked and bolted the door to keep them safe. However, every morning when the king unlocked the door to wake up his daughters, he found their shoes were worn out from to wake up their daughters. He found their shoes were worn out from dancing. No, what? I'm confused. What does that mean? Damn it. I like where this is going. I'm not gonna read the whole thing like that. Oh, you mean them staying in the bedroom? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where this is going either. He keeps them bolted in a room, a bunch of little girls. However, every morning when the king unlocked the door to wake up his daughters, he found their he found their shoes were worn out from dancing. Okay, sorry. I kind of like missed some context there. Nobody could ever tell him how the princesses had left the room. The king lay awake at night trying to work out how the princesses got out of the castle to go dancing. Worried that they could be in danger, he decided that he had to do something about it, besides the fact that he bolted their doors shut. One morning, the king proclaimed that anyone in the kingdom who could discover the princess's secret could marry one of them, their little girls, and become king after his death. And so Joseph Smith stepped along. However, anyone who tried but failed to find out how the princesses got out of the castle each night would be banished from the kingdom forever for some arbitrary reason he didn't care to explain. Probably. Quite soon after the king made his proclamation, a prince from the neighboring kingdom arrived at the castle and took the king's challenge. Candle physics, right? Look at it. Oh man, look at it. The prince had dinner with the king, and at night was led to a bedroom next door to where the princesses slept. So that the prince could see if the princesses if they decided to sneak out during the night. The door between his bedroom and the princesses was left open. Ooh. Ooh. As soon the prince's eyelids became heavy and he fell fast asleep. When he awoke, all the princesses' shoes had holes in them, for during the night they had all been to a dance. Why are they fucking up their shoes? They're partying hard. The king was not happy with the prince and gave him 2 more nights to find out the princess's secret. However, on each of the nights, the prince fell fast asleep, and the princesses left the castle to go dancing. The following day, right after he woke up, the prince was escorted from the castle and banished from the kingdom forever. A few days later, a poor soldier came into the town next to the king's castle. I'm just bad at reading. I'm bad at reading.
The soldier can't decide which shop to explore. Can you help him? Point to a shop.
Go to the chocolate store. I want to go to the chocolate store. Obviously, I want to go to the chocolate store. Go to the chocolate store. Go to the chocolate store. The soldier walked into the chocolate shop and tasted some of the chocolates. "These are yummy," he said to the shopkeeper, before walking back into the town square, where he bumped into a strange old woman. He just barged into that chocolate shop and just stole chocolate and left. The strange old woman asked the soldier where he was heading. "I don't really know," replied the soldier. "I'm considering going to the castle. Discovering the princess's secret and becoming king." "Aren't you like 30 years older than those princesses, though?" "That's not so difficult," said the strange old woman. "Just make sure you don't drink the yellow snow poison juice, which one of the princesses will offer you at night, and pretend to be fast asleep." So the princesses just poison people? What? Okay. Then the strange old woman handed him a cloak and said, when you put that cloak on, you'll become invisible, and then you'll be able to follow the princesses at night without being seen. You're a wizard, Harry. It was a kid's game, right? Yeah. Heeding the strange old woman's advice, the soldier headed up to the king's castle and furiously masturbated in front of the entrance.
Can you help the soldier get into the castle?
Okay, well, I mean, if you...
Grasp the
No, I'm
gate
just kidding.
with the A button on the Wii remote.
Grasp
Then
the
move
gate.
The Wii remote up.
Firmly grasp it!
Great work. It's opening.
The king was pleased to see the soldier and not at all pissed off that he broke in, and greeted him pleasantly. That night, the soldier was taken to his bedroom so that he could watch the princesses overnight. That is really weird. Candle physics, though. Those candles are really burning. Just as he sat down on his bed, the eldest princess brought him a cup of juice. But remembering the strange old woman's words, he decided not to drink it. And then died of dehydration. The end. Quick.
Can you help the soldier hide the juice so he doesn't have to drink it? Point at a good hiding place with the Wii remote and press the A button to hide the juice.
Oh. I tried to hide it in his butt. Didn't work. With a quick flick of his wrist, the soldier silently tipped the juice into a heavy clay water jug that had been left next to his bed. I'm just going to pretend that he put it in his butt, in a very quick attempt to hopefully not get caught. After hiding the juice and handing the empty cup back to the eldest princess, the soldier lay down on the bed and started to snore loudly. Pretending to sleep. The 12 princesses heard the soldier snoring. They definitely look like young children. I don't know. Maybe they're not young. They look weird as fuck, actually, is what they look like. In his bedroom, pretending to sleep, and started to laugh. They jumped out of the bed, put on pretty dresses and makeup, and tied up their dancing shoes. The youngest princess said, "I know you are all very happy, but I have a bad feeling about sneaking out tonight." But the eldest princess laughed at her. "The sleeping potion we hid in the juice worked wonders. The soldier is fast asleep, so don't be so worried." Just in case, the youngest princess looked again carefully at the soldier. Yo, Chloe, what up? Thank you for the host. I appreciate it. I hope you're well. Here, we'll go back a second here so I can thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the good luck. I appreciate it. We're just going through this casually, reading this, and then we're going to listen to one or two of the stories on the actual... Like, you can also just listen to the stories if you want. We're going to listen to a couple of them. But we're finishing up the last story that we're reading out loud here out of the 4 that the game has, because the game literally only has 4 stories. I hope you're well, Chloe. It's good to see you. Hope you're well. I hope your stream was good. Just in case, the youngest princess looked again carefully at the soldier, but he continued to snore quite loudly and didn't move a muscle. The eldest princess walked up to her bed and tapped it 5 times. We're reading, what is this, the 12 princesses or some shit? I forget what it is. Oh, this is the gameplay, by the way.
Princess, quickly swing the Wii remote up and down to tap the bed. 5 good taps should be enough.
This is basically the gameplay.
1
is interacting very minimally with the story. And you don't even have to do that. You could just set it on like an automatic read mode. But
5. Good work.
I figured I'd, do the only gameplay that there is in the entire game. The bed magically sank into the floor, and its place stood at a staircase. Sunk into the floor, and its place stood at a staircase. What? Okay. The princesses made their way down the staircase, one after the next. The soldier, who had been secretly watching everything from his bed, put on his magical cloak and, quite invisible, made his way down the staircase behind the youngest princess. Okay. Halfway down the staircase, the soldier accidentally stood on the hem of the youngest princess's dress. "What was that?" screamed the princess. "Someone is pulling on my dress." "Don't be silly," said the eldest sister, or said her eldest sister. "You must have caught it on a nail." Wow, that's some bad carpentry. Down and down they went until they stood in the avenue of trees with silver leaves that glistened in the moonlight. The soldier decided that he had to take proof back to the king, so he reached up to grab a twig from the tree. He's gonna bring a fucking stick back to the king. Okay.
Can you help the soldier get proof for the king? Point to the twig with the Wii remote and press the A button to pull it off the tree.
This is good stuff. This is gameplay. Gameplay. What kind of proof is that? That's what I'm saying, dude. It's like, what the fuck does that even mean? The twig cracked as it came off the tree, and the youngest princess jumped. "What was that? Something is wrong," said the princess. The eldest princess again laughed at her sister. "Don't be silly. It was probably just one of the castle guards practicing with his rifle." Next, sorry, I'm bad at reading. Next, they came to an avenue of trees where all the leaves were gold, and then another where they glittered like diamonds. Each time the soldier took a twig from one of the trees, and each time the sound scared the youngest princess, and her sister again told her that she was being silly. I guess that kind of makes sense if these are literally the only trees in the entire world that they know of that have these type of sticks. But even then, this doesn't prove anything. God, I hate this story. Okay. The soldier and the princesses came to a beautiful lake upon which sat 12 little boats. In each boat sat a handsome prince who was soon joined by one of the princesses. The soldier carefully sat in the boat with the youngest princess. What's his thing with the youngest princess? Right, this is a great game. This is a great game. I love it. Top tier game. When the soldier sat down, the prince said, "I don't know why, but this boat feels heavier than usual tonight." Oh, man. He did not just say that. He did not just say that. Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, boy. You don't just say that. You don't just say that. Oh, man. Oh, she didn't take offense to it. Okay. "Maybe it's the warm weather," the princess replied. "It's quite a warm night." That makes literally no sense at all. That makes no sense at all.
Can you help the prince and princess? Quickly swing the Wii remote up and down.
God, why are all the characters in this game so stupid?
What a beautiful lake. Good rowing. Keep
Good
it up.
rowing. Keep it up.
Almost to the other side. The prince and princess made it across the lake.
When they arrived at the other side of the lake, the soldiers saw a beautiful, brightly lit castle. From the castle came the sounds of music and people laughing. Inside the castle, each prince danced with one of the princesses. They danced and talked until 3 o'clock in the morning, by which time their shoes were full of holes. Because their shoes back then fucking sucked. They were bad shoes. When the princesses left to go home, the soldier once again jumped on into one of the boats to cross the lake. When the boats reached the other side of the lake, the soldier left the princesses and ran ahead so that when they arrived back at the castle, they would find him fast asleep. When the 12 princesses came back up the staircase into their bedroom, they found the soldier just as they had expected, snoring loudly in his bed. Like, what would they have done otherwise? As they took off their hole-filled shoes and climbed into bed, the eldest princess looked over at her youngest sister. See, sister, I told you there wasn't anything to worry about. I mean, I guess it's kind of proof, but he could have just told them that they were going over there. I don't really understand the logistics of all this. She said, and the princesses fell fast asleep. The following night, the soldier followed the princesses just as he did the night before, and once again they danced at the castle and... Sorry. Excuse me. And then they returned to their bedroom in their hole-filled shoes. I'm sorry, I burped into the microphone. On the third and final night, the soldier followed them once again. But at the dance, he decided to take a token back to the king as proof. It was kind of hard to read that for a second. The way the font looks kind of weird.
The soldier find something to take back to the king as proof.
Bring back this flaming fucking candlestick.
Press the A button to take it.
Oh, okay. Just take the table. That works. Why can you just take the table? From a table at the side of the room, the soldier found a silver pen covered with diamonds. Oh, okay. He took the pen as a token of proof for the king. I thought he was just gonna take the whole fucking desk. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. The following morning, the soldier was called to the king's chambers, so he picked up the twigs and the token from the dance, and he went to the king. Sick. So, soldier, the king said, did you find out how my 12 daughters leave the castle every night to go dancing, and how their new shoes are ruined every single night? I have, your majesty, the soldier replied. They go to a secret castle with 12 princes. And the soldier told the king what he had seen over the previous 3 nights and handed him the twigs and the token from the dance as proof. The king listened to the soldier's story, but could not believe it, so he summoned his daughters and asked them if it was true. The fuck does that... Okay. The princesses couldn't lie to their father, and they confessed to him what they had been doing at night, and he just never thought to ask them personally what you guys were doing. What were you doing? And I don't know. Okay, whatever. This story's stupid. The king hugged the soldier and asked him to choose one of the princesses to be his wife. While following the sisters during their nightly adventures, the soldier had grown to admire one of them in particular. Wow. Without hesitation, he chose the eldest. Okay.
Help the soldier pick out the eldest princess. Point to her with the Wii remote and press the A button to choose.
I want Big Papa. I want Big Papa.
You found her.
Wow, it was the one directly in the front. That same day, the couple was married and lived happily ever after, with the soldier becoming the new king a few years later, and there was absolutely no problems with that, even though there was absolutely no thought put into it at all. What a shit story. Jesus, 12 Dancing Princesses was bad. Also GG. I forget, there's credits, right? Can I look at credits from here or not? I don't know if you can look at credits at all. Options, credits, there we go. Credits, Pog. And now, after credits are done rolling through, we're gonna listen to like a story or two. In the auto listen mode. But yeah, GG. That is the second of 2 story hour games. And I have finished the other story hour game already, so. Finished that like, I don't even know how long ago. But, yep. There are other games that are like kind of like interactive storybooks. I'm not entirely sure how similar they are in regards to like how much gameplay they have, because this game was very, very much like, I don't know. There's not a lot of games that I can say are basically not games, but this is one of them. All of the story, like both of the story hour games are just not games. And like they barely qualify for a game. Like the bare minimum that you could possibly have for me to say, okay, this has some gameplay mechanic or like some gameplay, except that is literally as literal as it can get, like the textbook definition of barely. Also, I like the absolute lack of music in the credits. It's good. Yeah. Obviously just another one of those types of games that are just hella cash grabs. Like the most interesting part of the game is probably the voice acting and the illustrations. That's like it. And at that point, I would say you might as well just, I don't know, buy a DVD, buy an audiobook, buy a book, read for in real life. I don't know. Literally no reason to buy this game. Unless your kid likes listening to the same stories 10,000 times, which they could, but it's only 4 stories in one game. I bet you they could have fit way more if they really wanted to. So, honestly, not gonna say that unless you have like little children and for whatever reason you just happen upon this disc on the sidewalk somewhere. It's just in the gutter. You see the case and it's poking out, and you open the case and the disc works. Then maybe give it to your like infant child to listen to stupid stories for a bit. Except the stories don't even have good morals or anything. It's just all dumb. This game sucks. Right, all of the disk space went into the candle animations, for sure. I could definitely believe that. Honestly, the illustrations aren't too bad or anything. And I don't know how good. I forget how good the reading voices are. I'm sure they're all right. Um, the only thing is, I will definitely say the guy that does the instructions for the mini games that are in the game, they don't really like the way he reads some lines are really totally different. Sometimes he reads them in a softer voice and a louder voice, and sometimes it doesn't really fit, in my opinion. That's pretty great, really. Is there a story hour for Switch? Oh man, I'm not surprised. It seems like they put a good amount of games on the Switch that were like almost like sequels to a lot of games. Well, I guess they put a lot of them on the Wii U as well, but um, like I know there's like a fourth Deka Sports games or a Deka Sports game for the Wii U or something like that, or maybe for Switch. I don't know. There was a Carnival Games game put out for Switch. Some other stuff. All right, cool. That is the end of the credits. Good shit. All right, let's go and listen to some stories just for the memes. Exit to main. Let's listen to Cinderella because this is the one I read first.
Cinderella.
Cinderella.
A long time ago, in a magical land far away,
Oh, a hypothetical
lived
remake.
an
I see.
old man and his daughter. The young
Daughter.
girl's name was Cinderella.
Oh wait, do I not have the autoplay? I think I need to turn on the autoplay thing. Page turning. Story start without requiring the player interaction. Yeah, that's what I want. Yo, what's up, Shamus? Hope you're
The
well.
old man's wife
Doing
had
good.
died many
Doing
years
good, man.
and he
Not
had
too bad
recently
today.
been remarried.
We're just listening to a couple of the stories
His
after we
new
finished
wife
reading all of them
was a
out loud.
cruel, evil woman with two daughters who acted just like she did.
I'm doing pretty good though. I hope you're well, Shamus. Or Shamus.
Cinderella's stepsisters picked on her because she was much prettier than they were.
They were. Were.
Cinderella's new mother was also jealous of Cinderella and made her do all of the dirtiest, most boring jobs in the house, while her stepsisters sat around eating cakes.
Narrator sounded a little pissy there for a second.
Poor Cinderella.
While her sisters sat around eating cakes.
Alone
God.
in the cold attic above the rest of the house. At night, she dreamed of getting away from her nasty
Yo, what's up, Hasselhoff?
stepmother and her
Right, dude?
wicked
Fucking cake,
stepsisters.
man.
In the same kingdom, not far from Cinderella's house, slept a young and handsome prince.
Yeah, that's what I said, Hasselhoff, the first time I read when I was reading that. I was like, she was tired of living
And decided
alone
to
in an
start
attic
a war
and tired of her
with
cat
the
shitting on her head all the
other
time, so
kingdoms
she
of the
snuck
kingdom.
out.
When the invitation to the ball arrived at Cinderella's house, her two stepsisters became very excited.
Sick.
The eldest sister decided to wear a red velvet dress with beautiful French trimmings.
Look at those beautiful French trimmings. Beautiful.
The youngest sister decided to wear a petticoat with a beautiful golden cloak and diamond-covered jewelry.
Sick.
Poor Cinderella, who had nothing to wear to the ball, watched the sisters as they had their hair done and got themselves ready for their big night at the ball. When the stepsisters left for the ball, Cinderella went to her bedroom in the attic and started to cry.
I realized that I like totally turned. I'm gonna turn the voice volume a little bit higher up just because my TV volume's actually like up a good amount.
Cinderella's fairy godmother heard her crying, and
There we go. That should be a little bit easier to hear. I kind of might not have been easier to hear before.
"What's the matter, Cinderella?" asked the fairy godmother. I want to go to the prince's
I mean,
ball.
both can be really good.
I have nothing to wear.
Because I mean, like, if your game looks like crap, I honestly don't think it matters that much how high of an FPS it really is. Like, if it has a really high FPS, that's almost more jarring. You know, if your game just looks kind of like crap or something, but runs like so smoothly, like over 100 FPS or something. I don't know. But like, I mean, I mostly just care about the gameplay. I don't even necessarily care if the graphics are good or if the frame rate's good or anything. But if I was to pick one over the other, I'd say consistent frame rates, at least if it's not a shit frame rate, that's always nice. Some old games are pretty heavily plagued by the fact that they run at a ridiculously slow speed. Like some ports on like really old computers and stuff.
When Cinderella handed over the mice, she said, "But godmother, these mice are too small to pull such a large coach." The fairy godmother smiled at Cinderella and started to wave her magical wand in the air.
And these stories are exciting, aren't they?
Suddenly, the mice turned into beautiful horses, strong enough to pull the coach to the prince's ball. After finding some other items for her fairy godmother, Cinderella suddenly looked very sad. "But godmother," she said, "I have nothing to wear to the ball but this ripped old dress."
They read so slowly.
Once again, the fairy godmother smiled at
Like, is this
Cinderella
supposed to be like a reading
and
aid
started
as
to
well?
wave
Like trying to
her
teach you
magical
how to
wand in
read
the
too?
air.
I don't understand. Is it bad that you thought the horse was a cow?
Suddenly,
I mean, that's a massive
Cinderella's
horse. Look at that
old
thing.
dress turned into a beautiful ball gown.
It's like a
fit
30-foot
for the
horse.
prince's ball. Finally, the fairy godmother handed Cinderella
I don't even know if that thing's a
pair
real
of
horse.
glass slippers to wear.
That doesn't look real to me.
But as she did so, she gave
I'm
Cinderella
gonna go grab
a
my
warning.
brush really quick.
"Make sure you leave the ball by midnight, Cinderella. Not one moment longer, or the coach will turn back into a pumpkin, the horses will turn back into mice, and everything will be as it was before." Cinderella promised her fairy godmother that she would be back by midnight. And happier than she had ever been before, made her way towards the prince's ball.
What's with the crazy-ass hedge mazes?
As Cinderella arrived at the palace, the prince...
I will admit the mini-games make it slightly more engaging than the story is whenever they're just reading the story or whatever. It's a bit more engaging when you're actually moving and stuff, or doing like the very few mini-games there are occasional.
Immediately fell in love with her. The prince and Cinderella walked up the stairs into the castle together.
Did they now?
As they walked into the ball, everyone fell silent. Even Cinderella's stepsisters, for nobody had ever seen someone so beautiful before.
Had they not now? Why were there 2-page turn sounds?
Danced, everyone talked about her stunning beauty and marveled at her amazing dress. Cinderella sat down and talked with her stepsisters, but neither of them recognized her. Cinderella giggled as she went to talk with some other guests at the ball. Cinderella approached an old man at the side of the room. "Hello there, dear," said the old man. "In all my years, I haven't seen shoes as beautiful as those glass slippers you're wearing." Cinderella decided to stop mingling with other guests.
Wonder if the auto read just picks a random one of those branching parts of the story. Even though it doesn't really branch, it more like branches off onto one small page and then branches immediately back to whatever the page was after anyway. Because there's a couple of times where you can pick like something to do out of 3 options, and then the next page is just like, oh, and then you like it has some stuff about that option you picked, and then that's all that happens. It doesn't affect anything that happens further on in the story. It doesn't have anything real. Like, it's usually just some stupid, totally irrelevant thing anyway. It's hilariously bad. It's just bad.
The prince tried to chase Cinderella, but he lost her in the crowd of people happily dancing at the ball.
I forget, can you...
Cinderella ran down the stairs of the palace, but as she ran, one of her glass slippers fell off. Just as she disappeared into the night...
I don't think you can pick any other voices. Yeah, it doesn't look like there's any other voices to pick. Okay.
Her beautiful gown turned back into her ripped old dress. At the palace, the fine coach and horses turned back into a pumpkin and mice. The poor, confused prince walked out of the palace looking for Cinderella, but could not see her anywhere. On the steps of the palace, the prince was surprised to find the glass slipper which Cinderella had dropped as she ran home.
Yeah, I think we'll check out like maybe one more story for a second after this,
if they knew the name of his
and see if it has different voices,
but none
like if there's different voice actors for different stories. If not,
the prince
we'll
was
probably
very
just like
sad
check out
and
check
went
out the
to
next
bed,
game after this.
determined to find a way to see the beautiful princess again.
Why didn't the shoe turn back?
A few days later,
question.
Prince had an idea. He declared that he would marry the girl whose foot fit the delicate glass slipper.
And he was all about feet. So he went door to door
Prince
checking all them
travelled
feet.
around the kingdom, where many young ladies tried on the slipper. And finally, he arrived at Cinderella's house, where he asked her stepmother if she had any daughters who could try on the glass slipper. Cinderella's stepmother told the prince that she had 2 daughters, not wanting Cinderella to know the prince was there and to try on the slipper. The first stepsister tried on the slipper, but her foot was much too small, and the slipper fell off as she walked around the room. The second stepsister tried on the slipper, but her foot was much too large, and although she forced it to fit, she cried out in pain when she tried to walk around the room. Cinderella heard her stepsister cry out and came down.
Could you imagine just being like
what was happening?
Some like 5-year-old or 6-year-old kid,
Please,
and your parents
fair
just
prince,
pop you down in front of the
let
TV
me
and
try
put this
the
shit
glass
on,
slipper, said Cinderella.
and you just kind of sit there and you're just kind of like,
The 2 stepsisters immediately
that
tried
was
to
good. Yeah,
interfere,
this is totally
but the
engaging.
prince ignored them
And
handed
then your
the
kid just like falls
glass
asleep.
slipper to Cinderella.
It'd be incredibly unepic. It'd be so bad. I couldn't imagine ever being
Put the
gifted this
glass
game in my
slipper on
life.
her foot, and
Like
it
as a real
fit
life, like
perfectly.
real gift. I
The
couldn't imagine
prince
anyone
smiled.
actually purchasing
Cinderella
this
smiled back at him,
and then
and he
not regretting
suddenly
their purchase.
recognized the beautiful princess he had danced
No, I
with.
know, right? I mentioned that the last time when I was reading that. He's fucking balancing that shit on his finger. He hands that glass slipper to her like the most OG motherfucker on the planet. Of course she's gonna marry him immediately. Fucking look how baller he is. He's a fucking crazy ass baller prince. Most talented motherfucker in all whatever land this is.
The fairy godmother
You can tell he
waved
fucks.
a magic wand in the air over Cinderella. Suddenly,
Dribbling it.
Cinderella's torn dress turned back
That'd be
into
pretty
the
funny.
beautiful gown she had worn to the prince's ball. The prince, happy that he had once again found the beautiful princess from the ball, asked Cinderella to marry him.
Pog.
Cinderella said yes, and her sisters started to cry even louder.
Like a bunch
The
of
2
little
stepsisters
bitches.
dropped to Cinderella's feet and begged her to forgive them for how they had treated her in the past. Cinderella forgave her stepsisters and took them with her to live with her and the prince at the palace. Cinderella and the prince lived happily ever after.
GG. Easy pog.
The end.
Alright, let's go check out this story briefly just to see. Actually, let's listen to the creepier story.
Rapunzel.
Let's not listen to Rapunzel.
12 dancing princesses.
Options. Here, let's turn the subtitles off for this one. We're not going to listen to the whole thing, but...
A long time ago, in a magical
That's
land
totally the
far
same lady.
away, lived a king who had 12 beautiful daughters.
Alright, I'm just gonna type down this the times for this
They
stuff really quick
lived in a
and switch
magnificent
around
castle
my stream
overlooking
title
the
and
lake,
whatnot, and we're gonna
and
move on to
all
the
the
next game,
princesses
which is
slept
totally
together in the
spies,
same bedroom.
totally party. And if you guys aren't ready for that, you
All
you
their
better
beds
wait,
were
cause
lined up
it's
side by side.
it's a game, I think.
And when they went
Hopefully
to
my
bed
disc
each
works
night,
alright. It should work
the
alright, I
king
think.
locked
It's not in the
and
most
bolted the
amazing of
door
shape,
to
but
keep them safe.
there's a story mode to the game though. I don't think we're gonna finish it tonight, but
However, every morning when the king unlocked the door to wake up his daughters, he found their shoes were worn out from dancing. Nobody could ever tell him how the princesses had left the room. The king lay awake at night, trying to work out how the princesses got out of the castle to go dancing. Worried that they could be in danger, he decided that he had to do something about it. One morning,
yo, what's up,
the king
game and type? I hope you're well.
that anyone in the kingdom who could discover the princess's secret could marry one of them. and
Totally
become
Spies
king
was
after
interesting,
his
for
death.
sure. I thought it was a weird show. I'll say that much. I'll talk more about it though whenever I'm
However,
playing the game. I don't
Anyone
even know.
who
Okay.
tried
So
failed
let's
to
see.
find out how the princesses got out of the castle each night would be
Each
banished from the
story
kingdom forever.
Mode.
Quite soon after the king made his proclamation, a prince from a neighboring kingdom arrived at the castle and took the king's challenge. The prince had dinner with the king, and at night was led to a bedroom next door to the room where the princesses slept. So that the prince could see the princesses if they decided to sneak out during the night, the door between his bedroom and the princesses was left open. Soon the prince's eyelids became heavy, and he fell fast asleep.
At least we have a story to listen to while I change around the layout and stuff.
Princesses' shoes had
Let's
holes
see.
in them, for during the night they had all been to a dance.
Okay, edit.
The king was not happy with the prince and gave him 2 more nights to find out the princess's secret. However, on each of the nights, the prince fell fast asleep, and the princesses left the castle to go dancing.
Party. Okay.
The following day, right after he woke up, the prince was escorted from the castle and banished from the kingdom forever.
Post this to
A
Twitter
few
really
days
quick.
later, a poor soldier came into the town next to the king's castle. The soldier walked into the chocolate shop and tasted some of the chocolates. "These are yummy," he said to the shopkeeper, before walking back into the town square, where he bumped into a strange old woman.
$1.95.
The strange old woman asked the soldier where he was heading. "I don't really know," replied the soldier. "I'm considering going to the
Discord
castle,
as well.
discovering the princess's secret, and becoming king." That's not so difficult, said the strange old woman. Just make sure you don't drink the poisoned juice which one of the
Good shit.
princesses will offer to you.
Sorry, we cut that story short. I killed the narrator. She did too much work. Okay. Here, let me double check really quick that I did update that right. Dashboard. Okay. Yep, I did. Cool. Alright. Now I just need to clean off the disk really quick here. Alright, yeah, there's a couple scratches on here. So if it does have problems playing, that sucks, but I don't think it should. Like a smudge on here, that's kind of annoying, but still. Hopefully the disc scratches shouldn't be a big deal. They usually, unless they're like really, really bad, usually they're not a big deal at all. Yo, what up, Swirl? Hope you're well, man. It's good to see you. Okay. Okay.